Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. My name is Amos Knoll, and welcome to my world, my podcast. Today I have a special guest. Her name is Ari Ramos. I'm very privileged that she is also a member of Children Obesity Foundation. She's on the board of directors. Why we created this special show today is because we have in America an obesity epidemic. Who is Ari? First of all, Ari has a master's degree in public health. Ari Ramos is an ambassador for a healthy lifestyle. She has a master's degree in public health and believes that obesity can be conquered if we educate children and their parents on changing their habits to build a healthy new generation. Ari put her words into action. She has presented her dreams in grassroots public health presentation to schools across the nation. She believes that obesity is a big problem globally and wants to help fight the obesity epidemic, starting here at home in America. Ari loves to inspire our children. She ran across our nation from Atlantic Ocean to the Pacific Ocean, over 3,000 miles. I can't even walk a mile. On the way, she stopped at schools across our nation to make her presentation. She also stopped at hospitals. She also met with mayors in different cities, and she always had a big welcome. Ari is in the process of preparing for a bicycle marathon from California to Florida with Children's Obesity Foundation to promote a healthy lifestyle. Why is it so important? Because today our children have sleep apnea, enlarged hearts, hypertension, clogged arteries. In other words, we are feeding our kids to death. And part of the program we're trying to do is get as many donations and grants so we can further our goal to help a new generation and educate the parents. Ari, do you have any questions? And would you tell my audience more about yourself?
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Amos. I just want to give an intro and just a little bit of an update. So back in 2016, I ran, I walked, and I danced, and I cried, and I laughed. To be exact, 2,832 miles from Jacksonville, Florida to Santa Monica, California, unsupported, pushing a jogging stroller to prevent obesity in our great country. As I made my way across the United States, everyone would have the opportunity to join me on my trek, just like in that movie Forrest Gump. And I think that's what you have in mind for the bicycling trek. I made friends every 20 miles. And with each encounter, I learned an important lesson because I believe that you can learn something from everyone. Crossing Texas during the winter was probably one of the most difficult parts because of the vast number of miles that I had to cover without any services. I remember seeing the sign that said no services for 111 miles. My heart just sank. I encountered every imaginable obstacle and realized that the most challenging part was the mental aspect, not the physical. I saw our great country at 3 miles per hour, and I noticed everything. I even encountered what we call in public health food deserts, where people don't have access to fresh foods and vegetables, having to drive more than an hour to a grocery store. Just like you said, I would give presentations to schools and hospitals across our nation with the hope of inspiring at least one person to live a healthy lifestyle. Now, during my trek, I probably only inspired a handful of people, and I've come to realize that the only person that I can really change is myself. And with that, hope that those around me change too. I continue to give presentations, so contact me if you want me to present at your special event. Since my trek, I have been focusing on diabetes prevention and management using today's technology. There are a few products that I'm really jazzed about. I'm just going to share them really quickly. The first one's the Dexcom G6 CGM, which is a continuous glucose monitoring system. That basically, it's sending glucose readings to a smart device with no finger sticks. The second one's the Omnipod 5. It functions like an artificial pancreas. Now, I'm fascinated on how COVID has had an impact on people's health today. This last April, the National Library of Medicine published an article estimating that anyone with a positive COVID-19 test has a 40% chance of developing diabetes. According to the CDC, 1 in 10 people have diabetes, and 1 in 5 with diabetes don't know they have it. Why is this important? It's important because diabetes is the #1 cause of kidney failure, lower limb amputation, and adult blindness. Diabetes affects your physical, your mental, and your emotional well-being. The good news, Amos, is that we can prevent or delay type 2 diabetes with simple lifestyle changes, such as losing a small amount of weight and getting more physically active. And I think that this is where your mission and my mission and the foundation's mission come into play, Amos, where we need to get America moving. And I think that's what we're doing that's what I try to do with my trek. And this is what we're going to try to do with the bicycle journey that we have in mind. So, yeah, just a quick update.
Okay. Now I have some questions for you. And by the way, let me mention something that's also very important. See the book over here, The Chubby Conqueror? It's a book of innovation and inspiration, seen through the eyes of a 12-year-old boy, an obese boy. We have in America today approximately 250 million of us, 2/3, that are overweight and obese, of which 25 million are our kids. And the sad part is there's no end in sight. So our mission is really to educate the parents and the kids. Kids learn from the parents.
Exactly.
When you see sometimes kids in a restaurant where the parents are heavy, the kids are usually heavy. So when I say teach or educate, you got to educate the parents and the kids, because kids follow the parents.
Exactly.
But this book at the same time is also being made into a movie. We started the screenplay, and I hope to have it finished soon. And this is why it is so important to get the message out. Now, the questions I'm going to ask you, a lot of them, just want to show, there's through time, because people know about the marathon, they ask me different questions. So I figured, let me ask you, then you can give the answers to my audience. Tell us about yourself and why you decided to be a health advocate.
Yes, so part of the reason the reasons I was inspired was I was working at a hospital, and I would see people come in for preventable diseases, type 2 diabetes, heart disease, you name it. And in my naive mind at the time, I wanted to change the world. I believed that I could change everyone by completing this trek. And it just inspired me. I wanted to create change. I wanted to get America moving. I wanted to start a revolution. I was warned not to use starting a revolution around reservations, but I just wanted to get people moving. I wanted people to exercise and eat well. Of course, it's difficult to do that because as adults, we're kind of set in our ways. And that's why I wanted to focus primarily on elementary schools, and I wanted to get those habits early on. So that way, when they become adults, they know how to eat well and live a healthy lifestyle.
It's so funny. Hikmat Gandhi from India said many years ago, when you're healthy, you're wealthy.
Exactly.
Just think about it. And many times we as people don't really care. You just go out, you eat, you feast, whatever. Later on, if you get diabetes and you're overweight and all the problems that come with it, I should have, I could have. And then what happens? They keep on doing it. So by, like you just said, by educating our kids and the parents, hopefully we can create a healthy lifestyle. I know we can. I have no doubt whatsoever. Tell us more about the 3,000-mile marathon. You're not going to run 3,000 miles nonstop without stopping or eating. Where do you stay when you stop? Or we can also create things to accommodate, to accommodate you and all the people that will follow. But why don't you tell us more details about it?
Yes. So when I completed my trek on foot, I stayed at different places. So I stayed at, people's backyards, fire stations, Buddhist temples, anywhere where I could be safe just for that one night. And of course, I had to get creative because, I could only cover so much, maybe a marathon distance every day. With the foundation, we're planning more of a bicycle trek, which would give us more flexibility, and we can plan ahead of time so that way. And I feel like we can cover a lot more ground on a bicycle rather than on foot, especially having that extra support from others and planning ahead. So
I expect we're going to have a lot of support, because what people need is, like when you watch the politics, doesn't matter which politics, but the way they hype the people up to get excited. And here's something, it's like a few days ago, I was with my grandson, Max, and he saw a husband and wife, I assume the husband and wife, smoking cigarettes, sitting on a bench. And he looks at me and I said, yes, Max, sometimes adult people are stupid too. If they wouldn't know it's unhealthy and they smoke, that's one thing. But I remember seeing movies from the 1930s. I mean, I wasn't born in the 30s. And you can see there was a show, Dr. Kildare. And at that time they knew about it because the other doctors were smoking, and the doctor says, smoking is unhealthy. Put the cigarettes away. But again, you got the industry pushing smoke. And the same thing with food. There's nothing wrong with having sometimes a Big Mac, but not every day. Having ice cream every day. Eating in moderation and learning how to eat the right foods.
exactly.
Okay, here's the next. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I was just gonna add to that, just eating food in its most original form, instead of eating, French fries, eating a potato or a sweet potato. Sometimes it feels overwhelming not knowing how to eat healthier, what to eat, but it's just taking small steps so that and I guess making small changes in your diet will eventually add up to a healthier person, a healthier human being.
Yeah, it's funny because I just lost 20 pounds, by the way. My wife asked me, Amos, you represent Children's Obesity Foundation. Why don't you lose some more weight? I really had no excuse. In other words, do what you preach.
Exactly.
And I feel much better, and I want to keep on going because I can see myself talking to many people, and I don't want them to look at me and say, what is he talking about? He's heavy, type of a thing. So it's also, that's why I want to teach to parents. Next question, how long will it take and what route will you take for the bicycle marathon?
That's a great question. So for my trek on foot, it was all the southern tier. We're still in the planning phases, and we can certainly do the southern tier again, just because I'm familiar with that route, and maybe we can target the same schools and do a follow-up of the journey, because oftentimes people are left not knowing, did she finish the trek? Or they could see a different side. Or we could do there's different tiers for bicycling across, and maybe we could target a different group, going the northern part, or so it's all up to us. And we welcome any feedback. If anybody has any ideas or any connections, that would be great. During my trek on foot, it really helped having a lot of connections, which opened a lot of doors for my message across the United States.
One of the things I also want to do is get a hold of all the major newspapers, TV and radio. So when we go from one city to another, people will be waiting for you, and it will become a national, what's a good word? A national hype. Hey, Ari's going to be in Fort Lauderdale on such and such a day. So people will be greeting you. And then, of course, all the obesity companies and, of course, sponsors are going to come up. How does it say? Success has many fathers, failure has but one. And we cannot afford failure. So the thing is to make sure, 100% sure, that the newspapers, the TV stations, we have to coordinate them all together So when you go from one city to another, just think of Forrest Gump running
Yes.
through the mountains. People are going to wait and people are going to join. I think it's going to be exciting and something people are going to watch every day. Hey, where is she going? Where is she now? Wow, she ran that. I mean, ran. She bikes it so much, and I think it will be exciting. Will you make stops? You basically answered it. At schools, hospital, obesity center, talk to local politician, because it's still the politician who are going to help to promote it, so healthy lifestyle and incentives which they can do.
Oh yeah, I think that's part of the message. It's trying to share my presentation with schools, hospitals, just anyone that would listen to our message, anyone that would welcome us, and we can, create that energy to create change in our nation. That'd be great.
You know something, as I'm talking to you, you sound like a very excited woman. You really do. And I will use that podcast and send it to radio stations and TV stations to tell them, hey guys, get off your butt. We have to save a nation. We have to save a new generation. I might sound too melodramatic, but I really feel that way. What is the best time of the year to do it?
That's a great question. So one of the things that I've learned during my trek, because you can't really plan a journey with perfect weather every single day.
Of course.
But one of my mentors during my trek, Milton Miller, he told me a quote that I'll never forget. He said, "There's no such thing as bad weather. There's just not being prepared. So you have to be prepared for any type of weather." So, if there's snow or rain, whatever it is, there's no such thing as bad weather. So I think that's part of the problem, where we think to ourselves, oh, I can't go out there and maybe go for a jog or do whatever we need to do because it's raining outside, but you just have to prepare yourself, that's all. So I welcome any time of year, so I'm ready for the challenge.
But you hit the key. You gotta be prepared. It's not like you're walking to across the street to a store. So you gotta be prepared for all that. But the time of the year and all that and the route is going to be strictly up to you. You're in charge of that. One of the things I would also like to do we get the proper donations and the sponsors, and I'm sure there are a lot of companies that sell healthy foods and nutrition or sports gear that would love to get involved. And I would contact a lot of them. And of course, I would love to, as I mentioned before, the Chubby Conqueror. I would love every kid to read it. So far, the biggest compliment I got, by the way, and I never thought about it, it was a book of inspiration I wrote. And there was a guy came over to me, and apparently was an addict, or maybe still was. And he says, I read your book, and there you talked about mind over matter. You got to believe it. You got to see it. You got to see yourself. When you're heavy, imagine that you're skinny. So what I told people to do, take a picture where you like the way you looked. Hang it in the refrigerator. Every time you open it, you're going to say, do I really need it? Do I really need it? And believe it or not, it will have an effect on you. And I know when the movie comes out, my God, you have an audience of 250 million people who can relate to it. If that book doesn't pull on the heart of the nation, nothing will. Because like I said, it's a book of inspiration and motivation. And once the movie comes out, it's going to be great. I've also planned to do a television show with different foods. I don't care if it's from India, from China, every part of the world. Every week you have somebody else. All that would be based on healthy food. So I think it would be a great show because people say, well, I don't want to go to a Chinese restaurant. They put too much salt in. I don't want to go to that. But they're going to show how to cook the same food from different countries, and you can still be healthy, which is very important. Next question. And also as I mentioned, and if we get enough sponsors, I would love to give away the book for free. And I don't mind signing each one of them, even if it's 1 million, because I know it will inspire our kids. And again, like yourself, Ari, I'm open-minded. One thing I never liked in people, they think they have all the answer. In March, I'm going to be 80 years old. And believe it or not, I'm still out to conquer the world. A few days ago, I had, by the way, coronavirus. And the virus went pretty fast, but then I still feel weak. And I told my wife, I'm still out to conquer the world. So when I start doing things, and she obviously will make fun of it, she said, "You're still out to conquer the world?" Yes, because I enjoy it. I enjoy what I'm doing.
Great.
And I want to see our kids. I want to see all the kids, instead of eating fat stuff they shouldn't eat, unhealthy food, they'll be craving for the good food, because we're going to teach them, and the parents are going to teach them how to do that. Do you have any questions you want to ask me?
No, I just wanted to, I guess, emphasize again, that it doesn't take a lot to create a little bit of change, especially in our health, where just making small changes will eventually add up. And I also wanted to add to the adventure where, we're all on a journey in our lives. And, planning this trek across the United States, trying to get people moving again. I attended a presentation where a local adventurer in my town, Corey Rich, he's a local photographer, he talked about adventure. And he talks about how true adventure is when the outcome is unknown. And part of this trek is knowing that, every day it's going to be different, and we're going to meet different people, and hopefully we will be the change that we want to see in the world. And it starts with us, it starts with the foundation, and it starts with all the people listening here, hoping that they will also share the same messages that we have. So.
One of the things I should also mention, I spoke to a few companies, they're very much interested. They won't do it for nothing, but they'll give us special deals that are going to film the whole trip for the 2 months or whatever time it's going to take you. And it's going to be a documentary that hopefully we can sell to HBO. So it can be like in a few different stages. And I think that's going to be great. I really do. I think the only other questions I have, this is really more for myself, is, and by the way, to the audience, you can send me an email, or you can go into the site www.obesitystops.org, ask me any questions, or you can say ari@obesitystops.org, and she can answer any questions. I know it sounds old-fashioned and maybe corny, but there's no gimmick, because all of us know somebody, if not ourselves, that is overweight or obese. And I'm really excited. And what makes me more excited, having a person like you who has an optimistic view. And this is when you teach people about being healthy. When I was a developer, I would look at a piece of land. In my mind, I could see the land being balanced, retention ponds, I can see the roads, I can see the whole thing at once. So if you join it, when I was a developer and a builder, when I do something today, like the vision you have and I have, and hopefully millions of people, I can actually see it in my mind. I can see you traveling down and people following you. I can see you coming into a city to be waiting for you, because the news media is going to encourage the people. Come down, see, meet Ari, ask her questions, get free water. But I just want to say I really enjoyed meeting you today. and hopefully, no, I should say hopefully, it will be successful. Anything
Oh, definitely, definitely. I think that, again, just trying to emphasize that, the foundation, your mission and my mission are the same. And it's key to create that synergy to create change in the world. And this is what we want. This is what we want to be known for. So let's continue what we do. Doing what we do.
Ari, it takes one person, two person, three person, and the word spreads on. And before you know it, you created a tremendous way to save a new generation. Doesn't sound like much, but it's an awful lot. And that's what America needs. But thank you very much for joining us today on the show. We're going to have other shows together. And also when you're going to be on the route, we're going to be filming it. And that's going to be exciting. And again, if you want to get a copy in the meantime of the Chubby Conqueror, and by the way, we have a song ready for the movie, and it's going to show on the podcast. And all you have to do is just go to www.knoll, Knoll, publishing.com, and you can buy one there. And you'll be able to get it also on Children's Obesity Foundation, www.obesitystops.org. And thank you for joining us, and looking forward for the next show.